feel like once you get to a certain point in your spiritual journey or self-development journey or whatever you're calling this solo quest on life, you start realizing that the time you spend alone is so much more fulfilling than the time you spend like around other people. The relationship you have with yourself is going to determine the relationship you have with everything else and how everyone else and opportunities receive you. Your personality, your self-worth, your self-value, your environment, all of that changes for the better the more time you spend alone and get to know yourself. We all know that human nature craves connection, bond, and community to feel like it needs to thrive. But being in environments that don't cater to your self-value, self-worth, self-love, your goals, your boundaries, none of that is going to help you get to where you're really trying to be or experience what you desire to experience or meet the people that you desire to meet. All of that comes from a relationship with yourself and the source. Because from a young age, we're put in environments like maybe church, religion, family, friends, public school, clubs, sports, which is all very good. But from a very young age, you're taught that you have to fit in somewhere or you have to adapt to other people's programs. It all has a huge effect on your self-development and your self-journey, and that's why a lot of people aren't even really discovering themselves until they get to like the age 20, 25, because it's that social shift from childhood to adulthood that forces you into loneliness when you weren't doing it by choice while growing up, and you start to lose yourself. The little habits, the things you do when you're younger, the things you like, it all starts to get drowned by other people's opinions, rules, systems, government. All of that programs you and weakens your connection with yourself if you're not consciously taking the time to reprogram and unlearn certain things. Being in environments that aren't catered to who you are as a person or what your soul really desires is only gonna keep you back. Like, think of it like that. Like, your constant need to fit in or be around people is literally holding you back from the life that you desire. If that is not enough reason to take the initiative or the next step to accept loneliness as a crucial part of your self-development journey, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, we come into this world alone, right? We navigate this world alone. Everybody you meet only knows a certain version of you. Like, I promise you, your parents, your friends, your dog, even you, like, to a certain extent, everybody in your outer world only knows you to a certain extent. And the more you get to know that authentic version of yourself, you will slowly start to see your life turning into the life that you desire. Even if it's not physically, you notice mentally and like energetically wise, you're less drained. You feel less controlled. Because at the end of the day, honestly, we are in control of our own lives. Like, the decisions we make, the habits we have, all of that is kind of programmed, and we're kind of taught how to live from being a young child. At the end of the day, there is nothing from the external world or anything that is outside of you that will teach you more than your internal world will. Your internal world is so much more vast than you think, because there's traumas you haven't addressed, feelings you've suppressed, experiences you haven't reflected on, passions that you've pushed to the side. Now, some ways you can do this. If you feel like, even if you're in high school or your life predicament involves you being around people a lot, start meditating. Whether that means you have to venture somewhere or carve out time in the morning or at night, take the time to meditate. Meditation is more than just sitting with your legs crossed and wondering what I'm gonna have for dinner. Like, okay, if that thought arises, that's okay. You can see that thought and let it pass. But the more you do it, the more you get into the practice of meditation, the more comfortable you become with silence and observation of your thoughts and feelings as a piece of you. You are not all of your thoughts. You are not all of your feelings. These are literally just experiences that your human body has cultivated reactions to or whatever. And you have to actually sit down and reflect on these things and embrace the silence and loneliness. When I first started meditating, it wasn't until maybe like a few months after, because I wasn't really consistent with it at first, but then once I started getting consistent with it, I started noticing I can meditate from 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 20, 30 to up to an hour if I have the time for it. And you really start applying it to other aspects of your life. You start wanting to spend more time alone. You start wanting different things that you didn't think you would want. You start realizing new hobbies or passion. That's when you really feeling like loneliness isn't on your side, or you start feeling like outcasted from the world, which might be true. Maybe people are seeking to outcast you. Maybe you don't fit in with everybody, and that's completely okay. It's about realizing that loneliness is on your side, and that being alone, being able to be alone, is a superpower in this world that we live in when we're constantly around people. Being able to connect to yourself and take the time away from people to actually know which thoughts are yours, which feelings you want to hold on to. All of that gives you a more sense of control of your life. Meditation has helped me gain that perspective and embody it fully. If meditation is too much, or you feel like you're not getting anywhere with it, maybe you've implemented it into your schedule but you feel like it's not enough, you can take yourself on dates. Take yourself to the park. Take yourself to a bar. Do things alone. Things that you would have did with other people, or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever. Do it alone. And you'll start realizing then too, like you'll start having thoughts that you feel like maybe you wouldn't have had if you were other people. You start looking at the menu a little bit differently. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like something about being around other people, even if you love them completely, even if it's your mom, even if it's like someone that is so close and dear to you, maybe it's your significant other. Like, you do realize that a lot of your thoughts and decisions are kind of cultivated around people pleasing. Once you're not at the point where you're connected to yourself, you kind of realize that, okay, maybe some of the decisions you've been making in public when you're always around people has been about trying to people please. Definitely teaches you a little bit more about the decisions you would rather make and thoughts you're actually having. And it's so crazy to think, because like growing up, we're just always taught to, do things with people, because why not? Like, who wants to be alone, right? But the fact of the matter is that it is okay to do things alone. I'm not saying do everything alone, but maybe do half the things alone that you would have did with other people. Start journaling. Journaling is a great way to get your thoughts out of your mind. If you don't really want to talk to people, if you don't necessarily want an opinion on a thought you have, or you don't want to be perceived and you don't want to self-doubt, I would definitely recommend journaling. I actually started journaling before I started meditating and doing things alone. And I don't know why I started doing that. I just started in high school. So about 5 years ago, I started journaling, and I just started realizing that there was things I wanted to get out of my head, but I didn't want to talk to people about it. Not because I didn't have people to talk to, but it was just certain things about my personal life that I just really didn't want a perspective on, other than my own perspective. So it's when you write these things down, you write these experiences down, maybe during the morning or the night, you can go back to read it, and you can read it from a different mood. You can read it from a different time in your life and reflect on what had happened or what you're journaling about. Even if it's just how your day went, you're literally it's almost like you're time traveling, because one thing is that your body doesn't know the difference between past, present, and future. So you're kind of re-embodying yourself into that moment you were journaling, but as a future version of yourself. I'm not really sure if that makes sense, but It's like you're time traveling to a past version of yourself that knows a little bit less than you do now, and you can assess that from that perspective. And I will say that talking to people isn't always the best route. You can't always look for outside sources in the external world to tell you what's going on with you. You have to go within yourself. You have to get the words onto paper or maybe into a video and talk to yourself. And it's a lot of conversations that you're having with other people that you should be having with yourself, and you would get very different results in your life, very different reactions when you're not talking to people constantly about your problems or how you're feeling, which is good to, small talk about things like that. But I definitely feel like journaling has taught me how to really have in-depth conversations with myself, with the version of myself that is experiencing the world from a not so physical perspective. Talking to that version of yourself and talking to the source being God. For me, I feel like I have a really deep connection with God through journaling and meditating and spending time alone, because that's a relationship that needs to be had. Like, if you don't believe in God, or like you have a different source, you have to build a relationship with them. But you cannot do that if you're not spending the time alone or actively spending the time to harbor and build this relationship with this greater source that we are innately a part of. Your higher self will be so pleased. It's all about the baby steps. Like, okay, maybe one day you don't feel like it, but you start doing it maybe 3 times out of the week, and then that adds up over time. You start realizing you have a completely different relationship with yourself, with the world. You start losing friends, you start gaining new ones that actually cater to this higher version of yourself that you're constantly connecting to. It's very important for your creativity as well. Your creativity is something that cannot be taught. It can't be relearned or recreated. It's something that comes from your soul. It's something that comes from your experiences and your perspectives. Your creativity is literally like, I feel like it's the fingerprint of your soul, like of your life. Nobody has lived the life that you have in this body. You're the first to do it, and you're the last to do it. And what you're creating along the way and how you're creating it is so important. And it's like, so many people feel like they can't be creative or they're not creative, and it's not even that. It's just the fact that a lot of people are not actively taking the time to figure out what creativity means to them and how to, I don't want to say tap in, because it's not like you need to tap in. It's like you're already creative. You just have to figure out how to bring it out in ways that resonate with you. You'll realize as you start developing this relationship with yourself and the source, your creativity will flourish. And I truly mean flourish. I feel like growing up, as I said before, once we're so programmed to operate in these group systems, we're kind of taught to seek these other people or places or things to gain creativity. But honestly, you already have that inside of you. It's all inside of you. Your creativity isn't something that needs to be tapped into. It's something that needs to be practiced. So for me, I really enjoy singing and dancing and drawing and modeling, which I all feel like is a physical expression of my soul. Now, that is creativity for me. Creativity might not look like that for you. It might look exactly like that for you, but you won't know until you try certain things, and you won't know how necessarily good you are until you practice it. Because I feel like your creativity is not like, we tend to see creativity as like a talent, and it's like a talent, I feel like in this world that we live in, has the connotation of like they were born to do that, or like it's something that nobody else can do. And you will find, like, you will grow to learn that there are things that you are capable of that you just haven't been creative enough to like learn. And it's like a lot of things people are born to do, you know what I'm saying? But they had to do the self-discovery or put themselves in certain environments to figure out that they're good at this thing, and then practice it, and then cultivate it into being a so-called talent. If it's a talent that your soul doesn't resonate with, or a skill that doesn't really express your true authentic self, it's not meaningless. But to a certain extent, it's like you have to realize that a lot of people, we have specific desires and inspirations built within us from our childhood that we got from maybe our ancestors, or doing something when we were young, or I don't know, like we just get these certain like sparks of interest and desires. That's not an accident. There are a lot of people that are great at singing. There are a lot of people that are great at dancing. There's a lot of people that are great at golfing, welding. It doesn't matter what it is that you're good at. If it can be the most random thing. But stop thinking there is a specific talent or skill that you need to harbor to be considered a creative or a creative person. Or your creativity is already validated by being a human being, because we are creating our lives every day, every second of the day. Every decision we make is a reflection of our creativity, because that's what creative, like literally the word create is in the word creativity. So everybody is creative. It's just a matter of how are you practicing this stuff, and how are you further developing your relationship with it, and how it really expresses your authentic self. So I say all this to say that being alone is the most important, if not most crucial, step that you can make consciously, if not by force, to your self-development or spiritual journey. All of y'all have a great day or have a great night, and thank you for watching.